What is up, everybody? Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo. And as always, I am joined by Santi Zap. Santi, how are you? Welcome back once again to the channel.
No, I'm excited. I got my post Super Bowl hangover, followed by a pretty decent episode of Monday Night Raw. I'm here for it, Denise. Let's chat.
Did you win any money at all, by the way,
I
with the
did.
Super
I
Bowl?
won $25 from my mother-in-law, and I think there was an expectation that I wouldn't collect. It's like, no, pay me my money. I won that.
Dude, okay, so guess what? I'm so happy you won your $25. So, had the freaking Chiefs not scored that last touchdown that they did, I would have won $1,000 because I was playing the
Oh,
squares. So, you know how it is like the
yeah, yeah,
certain
yeah.
score? Dude, in the last 3 minutes, I lost $1,000. I mean, I didn't
That's
place $1,000 in bet.
brutal.
I paid $50 for the square, but I almost was gonna turn $50 into $1,000.
They did that on purpose. They knew. They knew that you had money on the line.
I was like, "Guys, you're already losing this game. Did you have to do that extra touchdown? Damn
Listen, those
it."
touchdowns, those garbage time touchdowns, they call those Vegas time touchdowns because they're the touchdowns that ruin everyone's bets across the world. And clearly it happened to you.
Right here, man, right here. And I could not be more bummed out about it. But, anyways, we got Monday Night Raw to get into. Santi, I'm going to be real with you. I did not love this episode of Raw. There were some things that I thought were great. And the things that I thought were great were the women's matches. Those were really the big things that I thought were just very, very enjoyable. The tag team match I thought was great. I thought that Bayley and Lyra was great. Those were honestly my favorite parts of Raw. I did enjoy that little tease there with Logan Paul and CM Punk. I kind of wanted CM Punk to go a little bit more into like talking some more shit on Logan Paul, but I'm wondering if they're kind of saving that for a bit. But overall, this wasn't like a crazy episode of Raw, but a pretty overall decent show.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that this was a fine episode. It felt literally like an episode 3 weeks out from a B tier PLE. Like it literally felt that way, and I felt it in the types of matches. And the matches were great, by the way. I thought that the Logan Paul Rey Mysterio was great. The tag match, both tag matches were great, men's and women's. And Lyra versus Bayley was great as well. But I will say, I came out of that episode of Monday Night Raw, and I literally said, like, this episode's going to be like half of the time that we spent last week talking about Monday Night Raw. There's just a lot less to really dive into. There's not something to really like bite into aside from like, yeah, those matches were pretty good. I think the biggest thing, honestly, biggest takeaway, Denise, is Gunther being chosen by Jay and WWE maybe burning Rhea versus EO sooner than people would have liked.
Yes, yes. Those were really some big notes to like take part of in the show. So let's get to it. I actually kind of want to start there. Let's start with Rhea and EO because that was one Santi when I did, going into the Royal Rumble predictions, making my predictions, EO was my pick after that big tease that they did with her and Rhea, right? But then obviously, things changed with Charlotte Flair and all of that happened, right? Afterwards, I was still thinking, okay, they're probably still going to do Rhea and EO. But then today, in the backstage segment that they did, when EO confronted Rhea, there wasn't that big of a reaction from the crowd. You know how usually, even if someone just confronts each other, everyone's like, oh, yeah, like here we go, like this is it. And there wasn't that much of a reaction. And in that moment, I thought to myself, you know what? This is definitely not going to be Rhea's opponents for WrestleMania. And then later on, it was announced that it's going to happen EO versus Rhea after the Raw, after Elimination Chamber. And honestly, I think that's probably the best option just because I love EO. She's such a great wrestler, but I don't think that the fans were buzzing for her as much as some of us might have hoped.
I was hoping for a bigger crowd reaction for those moments between EO and Rhea. So I'm with you there. I still am of the mind that EO is the type to win people over when she's in the ring. There was not a lot of hype for Bayley versus EO. There really wasn't. And then they went in the ring and they gave us what I think was the best women's match of that entire year. EO is the type to win you over in the moment, not so much the one that you can build a long lasting, like meaty program with. I'm still disappointed about not getting EO versus Rhea, but this does really open up a lot of questions. Are they really going to do Charlotte versus Rhea part 3? one of the things that I've been saying, because a lot of people don't love that idea, I always remind them part 1 and 2 were awesome. I know you don't love the idea, but just remember part 1 and 2 were awesome. And the women, honestly, I'm down for the women to get that marquee WrestleMania trilogy that they don't have yet. This would be the first one, the first WrestleMania superstar trilogy. Where do we go if it's maybe Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton? Are we going to actually finally pull the trigger on something like a Bianca versus Rhea? Because that's the biggest money match available if it's not Charlotte versus Rhea part 3. Well, at least when I look at the competitors in the Money in the in the Elimination Chamber, I don't see Bayley. I don't see Liv Morgan again. Like literally, the only thing that I'm thinking of right now for Rhea would be Bianca.
And obviously, with the Elimination Chamber, that's like the only way that we'll get to it because, like you said, we were talking about this last week. They feel like they're on two totally different planets right now. We haven't seen much of any sort of collision course between Rhea and Bianca. Bianca's been off, sort of doing her own thing with Naomi and dealing with all of the Jade Cargill stuff. Rhea Ripley has been on the other end dealing with, the end of Liv Morgan as well as the stuff with Io. And so it doesn't feel like right now they're in the same vicinity whatsoever. So I do think, though, that you're right. When I think about what the biggest matches are, like you can't have Rhea in there with just a whatever opponent. No, like this is last year she faced Becky Lynch. Like that was massive. The year before that, Charlotte, she is in there with the very best of the best. And Bianca Belair, that is the match that we have been wanting to see. And on top of that, I love Bianca Belair. She is my favorite current women's wrestler. And I don't love not seeing her as a star in the singles division. Even though I love her being a tag team partner with Naomi and Jade, and they look super cool and then they have the abs and everything. I need to see Bianca at the top because of the way that she wrestles. She just levels up everybody's game. She matches everyone's energy in the ring. And I need to see Bianca at the top. And so for that reason, I really do hope it's Bianca and Rhea. Even though I wouldn't hate if they did do Rhea versus Charlotte because you're right. The match at WrestleMania 36 was good. The match at WrestleMania 39 was even better. And they deliver all the time. But I think right now, just kind of going into what we have, which is literally our next topic. So I'll kind of like attach this, is that we have our first match that's finally been announced for WrestleMania 41. The first official match on the card is Gunther versus Jey Uso. That is a match that has gotten a lot of conflicting opinions, Santi. There's people that do not care about it at all. There's people that are willing to play it out. Let's see how it goes. There's a couple of people who are excited, but this doesn't feel like a big time WrestleMania match. So if we were to do this match and then all of a sudden a repeat of what we've already seen with Rhea and Charlotte, it suddenly doesn't feel like a WrestleMania full of fireworks like we were anticipating.
I totally get where you're coming from. Look, Jay versus Gunther has an uphill battle to get people excited for it. I did feel like today was a good small step forward with Gunther beating down Jay. That brawl, I was like, all right, this is a good first step. But like, I'm just inherently not excited for Jay versus Gunther. Like I said, there's so much work, so much groundwork that needs to be laid from a storyline perspective for me to really get excited about it. Funny enough, Denise, the thing that has me the most excited about Jey Uso picking Gunther is that Cody Rhodes is open to face like 5 different opponents that I'm down for, right? Like now I'm fantasizing about what's happening with Cody Rhodes. And ultimately that goes to show how secondary Jey Uso going after Gunther is, when the only thing I'm excited about is what we're going to do with the A champion Cody Rhodes now.
Oh, I feel so bad.
I
Even
feel
hearing
bad
you
saying
say
it.
that. The A champion, Cody Rhodes, but it's true. But it's true. Look, we didn't think this was the way that it was going to be. Remember when Gunther was Intercontinental Champion and we were like, oh my God, he's had the best Intercontinental Championship reign. I cannot wait for him to be World Heavyweight Champion. And man, I really do think, Santi, had they not wasted all of that time with Gunther and Damian Priest, I truly feel that Gunther's reign would have felt just more magnifique, I think they wasted too much time with him and Damian Priest to the point where it kind of got a little boring, and then in turn made Gunther's reign feel a little boring too, which sucks because I love Gunther. He's my champion. I'm still gonna, ride or die here for Gunther.
Yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm on the train. I'm here. I'm ready for this ride. But I hope that there's like some complimentary snacks along the way, Denise, is all I'm saying. Because I've been on this trip before and it wasn't that good where I'm like, I can't wait to take this trip again. If you're gonna take me to this destination one more time, it needs to be better. It just does.
So with that being said, how did you feel about today? Because they had Jey Uso go out there. He was doing his rounds, doing his yeets. He's on top of the table. And then out of nowhere, Gunther comes out and he like wipes him out. And I don't know about you, but for a split second, I was so fucking confused because I thought that it was Pat McAfee who had attacked Jey Uso because he was dressed exactly like Gunther, head to toe. The only thing that was different was Pat McAfee's belt buckle. And for a split second, my brain was like, why is Pat McAfee attacking
No,
Jey
that'd be quite the
Uso?
turn. That would be quite the turn. Listen, I thought it was cool when Jay went out there and did his 9-minute entrance and then restarted the entrance theme after he won the Rumble. We're now on the third straight episode that he's done that. I look, I want my episodes of Raw to start not 9 minutes in. That's like 9-10 minutes in is before like the episode truly really got going. And I hate that I'm complaining about this because I know it makes me sound like such an Ebenezer Scrooge, like, oh, you kids in your yeet, we don't need 8 minutes worth of yeeting. But that to me just has no substance to it. But at least the beatdown, the promo afterwards, I can get behind that. I got a little bit, my percentage, my battery percentage is going towards 100%. It's still low. I'm still not married to this feud. I mean, I am married to it because I'm getting it. It's going to happen, but I'm not, I'm not the biggest cheerleader of this yet. I need more. Luckily, we have 2 months. That's what is the advantage that this match and this feud has being announced so early, is that it has a lot of time to win us over. Had this been announced 4 weeks before Mania, like, oh, you guys, I don't know that you have the time frame to be able to pull this off. But 2 months, if they can't make something interesting in 2 months, then that's their problem.
You're right. And here's the thing, the 2 months could either be the make it or break it though, because by the time that we get to WrestleMania, we could also be like, damn it, just do this freaking match. Because if they don't make this story or this build interesting, we might not just care at all. We might not care at all. So now you're right. They do have these 2 months to like really win people over and really make us feel like this is something that is worth watching. Now, the other thing too that I wanted to add is to your point that you were talking about the 8 minutes of yeeting or however long that they do the yeet entrance for. It's so great for the audience, for the team, for the people live in person. It's so fun. You're yeeting. It's great. It's a concert. For the TV audience, it's the same feeling that you had, because I was thinking the same thing too, of like, let's get to it. Because even to the point where when Jey Uso was selling the attack, even though he was selling the attack and he had the microphone in his hand, I was thinking to myself, just say whatever you need to say already, Jay, because we've waited so long to even get to this point already. I just want to hear what you have to say at this point. And it almost reminds me of what was happening with Seth Rollins. Remember when Seth Rollins would go out there and everybody would sing for like 40 minutes to the point where everybody was super over it? I don't want the yeet thing to become that way, but it could get that way at some point, at least for the TV audience.
No, I feel that. It's funny that you mentioned the Seth Rollins. Well, they've not been doing that over the last little while, where like Seth Rollins just lets them sing for 5 minutes after the entrance music ends. Look, like I said, it was cool the first time when he won the Rumble. It was cute, it was adorable. But now we need more than just the listen. The reason part of the reason why I wanted to stop is because the biggest complaint that I see, the biggest argument that I see people online about Jey Uso specifically, is that they literally say he's just a super kick, a catchphrase, and a theme song, and an arm wave. And unfortunately, he's kind of reverting to literally just that. The theme song, the catchphrase, and the arm wave. It's like the biggest thing that he's just been doing the past 3 episodes combined of Raw and SmackDown. I just want to see more. I really do.
Yeah, I feel you on that. We got a couple of super chats here. This is from Anthony Giuliano, who says, what happened with Mysterio getting attacked by the New Day? Cut off from me. I thought Netflix time didn't matter. Yeah, so with the closing of the show, by the way, we had Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio, a qualifier match in which Logan Paul did win. But afterwards, we did see the New Day go in there and attack Rey Mysterio. Friendly reminder that when they turned on Big E, Rey Mysterio was the one, the locker room leader that basically kicked them out of the locker room and was like, sayonara, you guys can't be in here. So this was clearly them getting their revenge on that. But I don't know if you noticed this, Santi, but the show ended 2 minutes before the top of the 30-minute mark. And I thought, oh, we could have probably seen at least 30 to 45 more seconds of that attack, but we got like 5 seconds in. It was like they came in, they punched him a few times. Probably, you're right.
Yeah.
And then it was like, dun, 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 Netflix is over, and that was it. And I thought, we didn't have to speed this up like that. We could have gotten a little bit more.
I have a theory. I don't think we were supposed to see that. I think that was the setup of the dark segment that they do after Monday Night Raws. I feel like we were about to get the New Day going out there and attack Rey Mysterio. And we'll know now. I'm sure the things are up online. But I feel like the show was supposed to cut for us, and that was supposed to be for the people in the arena. They were going to beat down Rey, and then we were going to hear Cody Rhodes going out there to clear out the ring, send the people home happy. That's what I think that was supposed to be.
Okay, well, now regardless, they got to follow up on that, because whether or not it was an accident, like they got to follow up on it. That's it. We saw it.
Yeah, cat's out of the bag. If that was meant to be a dark spot that was only meant for the crowd in the arena, well, I'm sorry, cat's out of the bag. Now you have to do something with this on TV.
Yeah, because I was even thinking like, okay, this would make sense because there has been interactions with Rey Mysterio and the New Day. So why wouldn't that happen? But then I also thought, what took them so long? That was like months ago at this point. They could have attacked Rey Mysterio a long time ago. So your theory may be on to you may be on something with that theory.
They just had a match last week. They beat Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. It's
right.
That's why it doesn't make sense. That's why it sounds like that was the setup to the dark match or whatever dark segment they were going to do for to send the people home happy. And I don't think we were supposed to see that.
Oh, wow. That's forbidden fruit. All right. We got Terrence Johnson here who says L to the ending. Oh, man. So it seems like a lot of people were bummed out about that. We also got Tracy here who says, wow, you guys are such downers. Jay makes me smile.
That's why I said I feel like such a Scrooge. I feel like I'm trying to ruin people's fun when I talk about my thoughts on Jey Uso. I internally recognize that I'm being angry old man Santi.
But I go back and forth because part of me, when Jey Uso was crying in his promo, I was like, damn, I can't root against that shit. How do you want me to be a hater towards that, right? When he's talking in these press conferences and he's talking about this being his time, I'm like, yeah, I'm rooting for you on that. But then when I think about just how long it takes to do the Yeet entrance or how we already saw Jey Uso versus Gunther, then that's where I get a little bit frustrated. But I go back and forth on this. Thank you, Tracy. All right, let's go ahead and I do want to talk though, because we mentioned Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. We mentioned more of the aftermath, but I do want to get into the part with Logan Paul and CM Punk because this is the confrontation that I thought, when Logan Paul got brought in and CM Punk got brought in, I always imagined this if Logan Paul and CM Punk had an opportunity to share words with each other. I thought it would be just burn after burn after burn. I thought CM Punk would eat Logan Paul alive. I thought Logan Paul would die trying. And I don't know if they held back on that and decided not to go all the way right now, if that was done for a specific reason, or if they just they didn't care enough to go a little further. But to me, it felt like there could have been more between Logan Paul and CM Punk here. And the other thing is I didn't love some of the verbiage that Logan Paul used in his promo, Santi, when he was talking about 15 minutes of fame for CM Punk, 15 minutes of fame for Rey Mysterio, because I thought to myself, when you say 15 minutes of fame to somebody, you don't say that to people who have had long established careers. You say that to people who just came out of the woodwork, who just became a thing. Then you could be like, oh, hey, you're here for your 15 minutes of fame. Not Rey Mysterio, who's a freaking legend, and CM Punk, who's been in the business for such a long time and is uber popular. That was kind of how I felt about that. What did you think about the Logan Paul CM Punk's bit?
I wanted more, but when I saw how softball CM Punk was, I basically said to myself, oh, there's literally no intention to do anything to do between CM Punk and Logan Paul. They don't want to create anything. I felt like they were purposely being softball with each other to not even give fans the inclination that that could be something that they set up. At least that's where I'm leaning towards, that there's no intention anywhere down the line, WrestleMania or after that, to do Logan Paul versus CM Punk in any capacity. Because CM Punk mostly spent his time laying into the likes of John Cena, which he actually laid into pretty heavily. And of course, Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, but those are his arch nemesis. But yeah, the Logan Paul promo as well just didn't particularly like land. It just didn't have much substance. There wasn't any, and it felt like there wasn't substance because they weren't building to anything. It just sort of felt like, let me just say something to make me relevant in the moment, as opposed to say something that will make this interaction relevant somewhere down the line.
The one thing that okay, see, I'm kind of bummed out by that because if Logan Paul was gonna eliminate CM Punk, I would want from the Royal Rumble, I would want that to be for a specific reason. Not
Mm.
just for this little 2-minute interaction with him and CM Punk before a Rey Mysterio Logan Paul match. And so if they're gonna, like you said, not go through with it being a little bit more than that, to me, it was kind of a waste of an elimination. Like you got somebody who is so hated in Logan Paul and someone who is so good on the microphone at roasting people out and calling them out on their shit. That's what I want to see. And so I want that to happen at some point. And thankfully we still got a couple more weeks until the Elimination Chamber. So maybe we could get that. But the other thing that I like though is that with the Elimination Chamber and the people that are in it right now, Drew McIntyre, John Cena, Logan Paul, CM Punk has beef, personal beef with each and every single person in this Elimination Chamber. And that I kind of love because I feel like every single person in there says ops, which they should be.
Yeah, and now this Elimination Chamber just feels so much more special, right? Something that we haven't talked about is, to me, the match now was elevated in importance now, knowing that the winner goes after Cody, because the winner is now going into the night 2 main event. The winner of this is closing WrestleMania. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And now that it's Cody, that's like the prize, man, like now things got real good in terms of like who should be coming out of that. Like there's so many people that you could make strong arguments for, but my pick is still CM Punk or John Cena. Those are the two best names I think that are available for a match for Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. It's either John Cena or CM Punk. And damn, but that's the thing though. For night one, are we expecting for the main event to actually be Gunther
Hell
and
no. Hell no.
Jay? Right, right. We're not doing that. Okay,
Yeah,
making
hell
sure.
no. That just does not have the legs to be the main event, in my opinion, night one or night two. Like, for example, let me just throw scenarios out there for you. If they run Charlotte versus Rhea part 3, I think that main events over Jay versus Gunther. If they decide to run Rhea versus Bianca, that definitely main events over Jay and Gunther. If they decide to do CM Punk versus Roman versus Seth Rollins, that definitely main events over Jay versus Gunther. I could go on and on in different combinations of main events, all of them prioritized over Jay versus Gunther,
Tiffany and Charlotte.
except that one. I actually think that okay, you caught me on that one. I actually think that that's the one that WWE wouldn't put over Jay versus Gunther.
Yeah, probably not. All right, we got Soundwave 80s in the house. It says I just watched a Midnight Madness movie and Tony Khan looks like Leon the Game in the movie. I'm not kidding. Go watch that movie or don't go watch that movie. The movie is really funny and you should really watch. Oh, do go watch this movie. Okay, which is Midnight Madness. I will make a mental note of that. I'm always looking for new movies to watch. So, thank you so much to Soundwave 80s. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says the rumor I heard is that it's going to be AJ Styles versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania after Logan eliminated AJ Styles. I don't hate it. I don't hate it if they were going to do AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I can see that being a possibility. Earlier in the night, we did get an AJ Styles Braun Breaker sort of a tease. All they did was stare at each other, but I don't know what was bigger, them staring at each other or Braun Breaker showing up in a cowboy hat.
There's a big pop in my chat for Cowboy Braun Breaker.
Honestly, I'm here for it. It was not something that I was expecting to see from Braun Breaker. Thank you so much to Anthony Giuliano, by the way, for bringing that up. All right, let's go ahead and rewind. And I want to go ahead and get into, since we did talk about AJ Styles, let's talk about AJ Styles here. Uh, AJ came back. He was gone for a couple of months. He was gone for what, like 4 months, I believe, from a foot injury. But
Yes.
he's back, and he was going out there, talking about being in Nashville, having made his name in TNA and the Asylum and all of that. In Nashville, Tennessee. And so he was kind of recounting that. And then we got an interruption by Dominic Mysterio and Carlito. And I found it really funny that AJ Styles was trying to catch up here with the Judgment Day storylines, because he was telling Dominic, where's Rhea? Where's Finn? Where's all of these people? Damian Priest. And I'm thinking to myself, like, are we just going to run through all of what's been going on with the Judgment Day right now? But this kind of led between a little interaction where AJ ended up taking out both Carlito and Dominic Mysterio. But there were some fun moments where AJ made fun of Dominic, basically telling him, like, no matter what you do, you're always going to be Rey Mysterio's punk ass kid.
I didn't love this segment. Yeah, oh my God, I'm being such a bummer. I'm such a bummer today. Okay, so the only reason I didn't like it is because that if you go back and rewatch it, there was no proper back and forth between Dom and AJ. It was just Dom goes out there, barely gets to say anything because the crowd is booing him, and then AJ says his piece, and that's it. There really wasn't much to really get super excited about, aside from just the return of AJ Styles. But yeah, I thought it was funny, AJ calling out the fact that, like, yeah, where's Rhea? Where's Damian? But like, for example, I liked more what we saw just in the stare down between AJ and Braun Breaker than what we got between AJ Styles and Carlito and Dominic. I didn't feel like that was particularly like very good.
Okay, here's the real question for your chat, for my chat, and for you. Give me the best hair ranking: AJ
Ooh.
Styles, Carlito, or Dominic?
I mean, it's look, you've picked the Holy Trinity. You really did. You truly did. I mean, in that ring, we had some heavy hitters when it comes to Luscious, beautiful hair. I am gonna go Dominic with that beautiful mullet. I'll go Carlito, iconic. My goodness, that afro. Oh, so good. And then I'll have AJ Styles' hair. Luscious soccer mom hair.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a good ranking. I want to say AJ Styles, Carlito, and Dominic. And
You're
I'm only going
insane.
with AJ Styles because he has the classic little thing that he does where he
No,
always does this with his hair.
you know what? I know what you're doing. You're once again trashing the name of Dominic Mysterio. This is something that you do
Oh no.
every couple of weeks. You think I'm just gonna sit here and take this fucking slander to Dominic Mysterio? Do you really think that I'm
I
just gonna sit
credited his
back?
hair.
What?
I gave credit to his hair. I
You
included
put
him in
him
the
third.
ranking.
You put it third. That is last. If you're not first, you're last in this scenario, Denise Salcedo. He has the best hair and facial hair in the WWE.
Look, it's very tough to beat AJ Styles when he looks like he was in a CoverGirl commercial. And then
It does look.
Carlito's hair has so much volume, it's great. And so unfortunately, that left Dominic in last place.
I do think that there would be something really soft and luscious about putting like my fingers through AJ's hair. It just looks like it'd be so calming to brush
Right?
his hair.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like if he's riding in a convertible top down, it's gonna be flying. That's why. See, everybody out here. Actually, there's some people that are torn. I'm seeing people fight for the number one spot with either AJ or Dom.
It's
AJ and
tough.
Dom are up there. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. All right, we got a super chat here. This is from let's see, where are we at? Kid Cuddy here, who says, just tapping in. This Raw was pretty fire, great matches throughout. Look, guys, I know you have your fantasy booking about WrestleMania that you care about, but Jay is main eventing one of those nights.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
This is tough because you got to have Cody in the main event.
Yeah,
I
Cody's
feel
night two. Night two's locked. Cody versus
yes.
Elimination Chamber winner. That's locked.
I can't imagine Roman Reigns not being in some sort of a main event. He's Roman freaking Reigns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's got to take a slot. But then there's also CM Punk and whether or not is he going to get his WrestleMania main event. And so unfortunately, I feel like all of those people kind of or those stories kind of feel like they're trumping right now the Jey Uso Gunther
Yeah.
match because we already saw it.
Let me tell you how you get Jey versus Gunther into the main event. All right. This is how you get him in there. You have Cena win Elimination Chamber. He goes up against Cody, right? You have Seth versus Roman be a match. And then the favor is for Paul Heyman to put CM Punk into the main event, which ends up being the Jey versus Gunther match. Jey, Gunther, CM Punk. All of a sudden, that's main event worthy. CM Punk would be able to carry the lifeless corpse of that terrible main event to a night one closer.
So you're saying it would turn into a triple threat?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I've been thinking of that as a possibility. I know I'm being harsh, by the way. I was being harsh there on purpose. But I see it because of Paul Heyman's obviously the favor, but then the fact that this is a bloodline member that technically Paul Heyman is screwing over to get Punk in there in Jey Uso. So there's some layers in there that could make that a realistic possibility.
Damn. Now, here's my other question. If they do decide to add some sort of stipulation to Jey Uso and Gunther, what are you thinking? I know a couple of people have thrown out Hell in a Cell. I'm a mark for ladder matches, so I'm just gonna throw that in there. But what would be the thing that you're like, all right, this at least adds a little bit to it, a little extra interest?
I'm open to violence so long as it's not last man standing. I can't stand last man standing matches anymore, Denise. John Cena, and I'm a huge John Cena fan, ruined last man standing matches because ever since John Cena entered the fray, the only way that you can beat baby faces in last man standing matches is if you put a fucking gun to their wife's head. All right. Or if you chop them in half with a chainsaw. It's the only way that baby faces lose last man standing matches. And I don't want to see that. I'd rather see no disqualification, ladder match, street fight, false count anywhere. Just don't do last man standing match because I know that Jey Uso's about to lose, but he keeps getting resurrected with the power of the yeet. I can already see it.
Yeet, and he's resurrected. If you yeet 10 times what is it like when Dorothy claps her little red
yeah.
If you yeet and you just believe, he will get counted out. I can see it already. I can see Michael Cole and Pat McAfee painting this visual for us. Yes, I can see it already. Kid Cudi, thank you for the super chat.
What if it's
man.
Bloodline Rules?
Man, Bloodline Rules is like
I know.
At this point. Nothing. I remember when they said bloodline rules and tribal combat, I was expecting all this crazy stuff, and I don't even remember nothing happening in that. Whatever's. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says Jey Uso will open the show because they need a hot match to start out WrestleMania. Save this comment because I call it. Hey, I don't hate it, man.
That I see.
Yeah, bookmark this comment, Anthony. We got Soundwave 80s here who says, I meant the Leon the Game Master where he sends 5 groups of college kids on a scavenger hunt. All right, I will look at that. Let me know what platform that's on. Thank you, Soundwave 80s. Or I'll just Google it. I'll Google it. All right, let's go ahead and press on from here. We were talking earlier about a lot of the really good matches that we got with the women. And one of those that we saw here today was Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria. This was the match that I was waiting for, Santi. The second that I saw that this was happening on Raw, this was what I was most ready for because I'm such a big fan of Lyra Valkyria. I feel like I've been shouting her name at the top of the rooftops ever since I saw her on NXT. And then Bayley, well, she's Bayley. We all love and respect Bayley a whole lot, but they went out there, man. They had a good paced match, just good wrestling. Lyra, I think, is continuously starting to like win over the crowd because every time she goes out there and people are reminded, like, oh yeah, this bird girl, she can definitely wrestle. And I feel like that's going to start to win the people over. And another thing too that we have to mention is, we're talking about yeets and chants and things like that. Lyra with her entrance with the woo and the woo.
It's working. Slowly getting over.
Yes. And so I was a big fan of this. I knew Bayley was going to win. I think she was definitely the right call. And she's now in the women's elimination chamber.
See, I thought finally that Roxanne Perez would make her presence felt because they had her once again at ringside. And we've seen this a couple of times where they just show her and then nothing comes about from it. Now, I know that there is a most likely going to be turned into a fatal 4-way, but right now it's a triple threat between Julia, Roxanne, and Bayley scheduled for NXT Vengeance Day. But I really thought that there was eventually going to be enough legs for a WrestleMania match and feud between Bayley and Roxanne Perez. And I thought it could have started here. I really thought that we were going to have Roxanne get herself involved and cost Bayley this match, giving Lyra Valkyria, who honestly needs this type of exposure. I really felt like Lyra needed this win a lot more than Bayley. Obviously, Bayley carries that star power, star power with her going into Elimination Chamber. But I would have loved to see WWE give some love to the women's intercontinental champion, whom they've given no love to, by the way, since she won the darn thing. She has just been fodder, right? Getting eliminated pretty unceremoniously from the Royal Rumble, and now obviously a very good and a very competitive match against a legend. But I would have liked to see a way for them to put Lyra Valkyria into this match, because I really believe that out of both Lyra and Bayley, that Lyra could be the better performer in an environment like the Chamber.
Yeah, she would do really good. And dang, I know again, that same reason that I was expecting Bayley to go into the Elimination Chamber. Like you said, it's that star power. She's the one that you would believe, would have the chance to obviously go to WrestleMania. Lyra's not there just yet, but she's making her way up. She's building up her name. You're right. I do wish they kind of gave her a little bit more love as Women's Intercontinental Champion. I feel like even me today, like when she came out backstage with Ivy Nile and she had the belt, I was like, oh yeah, she's the Women's Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the kind of reaction you want to have. I did love her performance at the Royal Rumble. I thought she had a really good spot going in early. I thought she had some great moments in it. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I think the one thing that we still need to get behind for Lyra is we know she's a good wrestler. We like her song. She looks good. Now it's just a matter of we need a big story for her. We need some vignettes. We need some backstage segments. We need to know, who is Lyra Valkyria? What is her personality? Who is she? Why should I cheer for her? I think that's a little bit more of what needs to be added, because we already know she's good. We like seeing her wrestle, but you got to add that little extra bit just to develop, to develop fans.
I'm with you. Like, I see people in the chat saying, she's the Intercontinental Champion. She doesn't need to be in the Chamber. She can have a path to WrestleMania without the Chamber. I don't believe that her path to Mania was the Chamber. I just felt like the path to getting her more exposure and showing the world how good she is, like how it worked for Tiffany Stratton at last year's Elimination Chamber, that's where we could have benefited from having a Lyra Valkyria here.
Yeah, man, that was such a good night for Tiffany Stratton. She had the best night there at the Elimination Chamber. That
morning.
Was just
it was
yeah.
Oh
yeah, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, the morning. You're right. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let's press on. We also got the other women's match that I really liked was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Dakota Kai and Io Sky. This was so freaking
awesome.
Good. Liv Morgan, she got busted open. I didn't see how she got busted open, but it was like 1 second, all of a sudden her whole face is bleeding. I don't think we've ever seen Liv bleed like that.
Not like that, and that's called the MMA cut. Like, it's on the eyelid. Like, it's like right below the eyebrow, and that thing gushes. That thing bleeds a lot, and we saw it bleeding in this match. I don't know when it happened either. I want to tell myself it was during the crazy knee that she took in the face from Io. But yeah, the match was awesome, and funny enough, the blood, the color, kind of added to it. I was like, hell yeah, girl, you get in there, because she didn't slow down at all, even though she was half her face was covered in blood.
I feel like if anything, they worked a little extra harder, because sometimes when you got that adrenaline, you're bleeding, you're probably thinking, oh, should I look really cool right now? Which she did. She's going out there and she's having this hard match with these girls and they're going full throttle. Same thing for Io Sky. She tends to, I feel like as the match progresses, she tends to get faster. She tends to do more. And I mean, she's just such a good wrestler. But Io Sky gets the win over Liv Morgan, which now we do know it was after this that we learned that she would go on to face Rhea Ripley. So at least now we kind of know why she was able to get this big win. She was the one that won for her team and pinned Liv Morgan. So that all added up very, very nicely. Alrighty, I think we got one more match to get into, and then I do want to ask you about also some of the news that came out today. But oh yeah, the other match was the War Raiders versus the Creed Brothers that ended in DQ, because the Creed Brothers decided to hit the War Raiders with the tag team belts. I thought this match was okay. I didn't think it was anything too extraordinary. But I did like the idea of the Creed brothers making it known that they want the tag team titles. I think they had someone insinuated they wanted the tag team titles, but not so much as they did today.
I'm just glad that there's tag team stories. Like that's to me little baby steps towards getting towards where we are on the SmackDown tag team side of things, where it's like an actual like living and breathing tag team ecosystem. You know, we don't quite have that on Monday Night Raw, but I feel like here with the Creed brothers and War Raiders, I feel like it was a great first step. I got to disagree with you. I thought the match was great. I really like some of the really crazy spots that they were doing. I keep forgetting just how big these guys are, and they're just doing just some things that will blow your mind. Like I love the spot of Julius Creed doing that super clean like jump to the turnbuckle to do that awesome superplex leading right into the Brutus bomb. I really like the match, so it's interesting that we're in a bit of disagreement there. But more than anything, I'm just happy that there's tag team things happening.
I can't argue that. Alrighty, so before we wrap up our Raw post show, earlier in the day, there was some news on the AEW side that can impact the WWE side. And by that, I mean that both Miro and Ricky Starks are no longer with AEW. Of course, two different stories here. Miro, someone who was with WWE and had a long career with them, goes to AEW, has a short period of time where things are going good, but then the latter portion of his career we weren't really seeing him at all in AEW, and then just we never heard or seen anything from him anymore. Ricky Starks, a name that in AEW started to like come up. He was winning people over with his wrestling, winning people over with his very stylish guy swagger, his promos, all of that. Had a lot of comparisons made to The Rock just because of the way that he presented himself. And who knows what went wrong? Not really entirely sure what went on with Ricky Starks and AEW, but they just didn't put him on TV, and he wasn't on TV. And this kind of led to obviously both parties being unhappy, and Miro and Ricky Starks are now released. So Ricky Starks is free, according to PNW Insider. He is free and 100% clear to go and work wherever he wants. People have been wondering, Santi, for a while now whether or not he would pop up on WWE. He's a very, very talented guy. He could definitely do a lot there. And then will Miro go back to the company? What do you think?
So I'm more inclined to believe Ricky Starks making the jump compared to Miro, right? And I say that because, well, we've seen all the stuff with Ricky Starks and Cody Rhodes, the backstage stuff at the WWE events. But then if I'm Ricky Starks, I'm looking at how WWE has recently used people that have come over from AEW and didn't necessarily have a WWE footprint, like Lexis King, how well they've used Ethan Page, the red carpet that they rolled out for Jade Cargill, Penta. If I'm Ricky Starks and I'm seeing that, like my mouth is watering. That's exactly where I want to go. Whether it's NXT or main roster, WWE has demonstrated that they will take those guys that have made their and girls that have made their pedigree in AEW, and we will treat them as stars here. Funny enough, we might be looking at a night 2 main event with two former AEW guys, and Cody and CM Punk. Miro, on the other hand, I'm less convinced in. What is changing in Miro's mind about how he would be treated in WWE? Is it really like because he had his run in WWE, the last year and a half of it wasn't particularly great. Does he really believe that, just because Vince isn't here anymore, that it's Triple H, that now all of a sudden things will change for me? I don't know. I'm far less convinced of that if I'm Miro compared to if I'm a fresh slate candidate like a Ricky Starks. I'm more inclined to believe Ricky will make the jump to WWE over Miro.
Yeah, the one thing that keeps me thinking that Miro would go to WWE is only because he looks way better now than he did when he was in WWE. Like the physique that he has is insane. And of course, the other big thing is, well, Vince is not in charge anymore. It's Triple H. Maybe we can try to see what Triple H can do with Miro, right? But Dude, that's one that who knows how that's going to play out. Then, of course, Malachi Black, he's been in the news cycle now for a bit about whether or not he's done with AEW. According to PW Insider, he is a free agent. He was removed from the AEW roster, and it looks like he's also done with AEW as well. He's someone that was also in WWE, left, and then you thought everything was going to be, you know, roses and rainbows in AEW. It didn't really work out like that. We didn't even see as much as we thought from Malachi Black that we thought we would. Is he somebody that you're expecting to be appearing in WWE once again?
I do, more than Miro, because unlike Miro, Malachi or Alistair, if he were to come back to WWE, he can point to his time in WWE when he was being booked under Triple H and say, look how great I was being booked in NXT Black and Gold. Miro doesn't have that. He doesn't really have the, like, look at this awesome resume that I had in NXT because of Triple H. So Alistair Black, I see that more as a possibility than Miro as well. And I would love to see Alistair Black back in WWE.
Yeah, man. I think like I was when he left WWE and went to AEW, I thought we were going to see the version of Aleister Black that I wanted to see in WWE. And then we didn't get that in AEW. So I was very disappointed by that. And of course, we don't know, you know, what went down, what happens backstage. We don't know any of that. We're not privy to that. So it's just a matter of like, all right, if he does go back to WWE, what will that look like? Will it look like what we saw in Black and Gold? Would it look like his tail end of this time in the main roster, or will it look like just what happened with him in AEW, right? Because same thing for Andrade. He was somebody that I thought that by the time he went back to WWE, I thought that based off some of the work that he did in AEW, that he might get a better push in WWE. And what's happened with Andrade since he got there? Nothing.
I mean, nothing.
Nothing.
Literally, like, his best of 7 series that was ruined at the end is probably like the most memorable thing.
Yeah, and that's it. And so it does leave me going, well, the grass may feel like it's greener on the other side, but you just never know. So much comes to play into all of that creative, you name it, everything. But ladies and gents, that was our WWE Raw post show for February 10th. Santi, as always, such a pleasure to have you on here. Please tell the people where they can support you, check out your work, and all of that.
You guys can find me at everything Santi Zap, except on Twitch. I got suspended for 48 hours. So you guys are, after 48 hours, you can come over to Twitch. I got hit with a copyright claim for the watch along, but it's crazy, Denise.
Which watch along?
This one for this episode. I got suspended 30 minutes in on Raw, and we think it's because in my background there was a tiny little screen that was showing Monday Night Raw, like my recording of like my reactions. You could see it in the background, and we think that that's what dinged me, what got me suspended for 40. It's only 48 hours.
Thank God it's only 48 hours though.
Yeah. I know. It was a big like rude awakening. Anyways, after 48 hours, you can find me on Santi's app, even on Twitch, but Santi's app everywhere as well. You can find me.
Yeah, I always get scared too because on YouTube, whenever I like StreamYard, whenever I put the audio in for a split second, the video comes out and I cannot not have that little split second happen no matter how fast I click on it. But I'm like, okay, well, thankfully nothing's happened. But yeah, that is very terrifying. So 48 hours, guys, go give some love to Santi. All of the links are in the description box below, as always. As for me, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. I finally hit 200K today. It finally happened. I was slow walking the dog, but it finally happened. And now I can move on to the next goal, which is 300K, which we'll see when that happens. But thank you guys so much, as always, for the support. Don't forget to subscribe to both Santi and me, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.